This show is part of One Place, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to the Roundup. We are diving into the biggest political and international headlines of the day, from high-level resignations to major legislative battles currently unfolding in the nation's capital.
A top counterterrorism official resigns over the Iran war.
Khamenei's killing sparks debate over U.S. assassination policies.
Senator Mullen faces a hearing for Homeland Security Chief.
Israel becomes a central issue in Democratic primary races.
Cesar Chavez celebrations are canceled following troubling allegations.
Governor Newsom blasts a retiring Border Patrol official.
Senate Republicans begin debating Trump's national election plan.
Adam Kinzinger hits Lindsey Graham with a foul insult.
Advocates warn of a crisis if Haitian TPS ends.
J.D. Vance addresses his past skepticism of Iran war.
Starting with our first story, National Counterterrorism Center Director Joe Kent has officially resigned, sending shockwaves through the Trump administration. In a public letter, Kent claimed that Iran posed no imminent threat to the United States and argued that the current war was initiated due to pressure from Israel and its American lobby. This is a massive departure for Kent, who has been a longtime supporter of the president. He urged Trump to reverse course immediately, suggesting that the intelligence used to justify the conflict was essentially an echo chamber of misinformation designed to undermine the America First platform.
The White House was quick to dismiss Kent's claims, with President Trump describing him as a nice guy who was simply weak on security. Trump noted that the resignation was actually a good thing for the administration's goals. However, the fallout hasn't stopped there. The Anti-Defamation League accused Kent of using old-age anti-Semitic tropes in his letter, a sentiment echoed by other pro-Israel advocacy groups. Kent's background is also being scrutinized again, including his past refusal to renounce claims about the January 2021 Capitol riot, making his exit one of the most controversial moments of the term.
Next up, the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in his Tehran office has reignited a fierce debate over the morality and strategy of U.S. assassinations. While the operation was a display of incredible military precision using high-tech intelligence, historians like Timothy Naftali are questioning if we are ready for the implications of such power. For decades, the U.S. has had a complicated relationship with killing foreign heads of state. During the Cold War, the CIA often worked through local allies to remove leaders like Rafael Trujillo, but direct action was usually kept in the shadows to maintain plausible deniability.
This strike represents a shift toward more overt and technologically advanced targeted killings. In the past, the U.S. tried to poison Fidel Castro or Patrice Lumumba, but those efforts were often messy or failed. Now, the ability to strike a leader in the heart of their capital changes the strategic landscape entirely. Critics argue that while it deals a blow to the enemy, it sets a dangerous precedent for international relations. As the U.S. and Israel continue their operations, the world is watching to see if this move stabilizes the region or triggers a much larger, more chaotic cycle of retaliation.
Now let's shift to Oklahoma Senator Marquayne Mullen is heading into a high-stakes confirmation hearing to lead the Department of Homeland Security. This comes after President Trump removed Kristi Noem from the post, moving her to a regional envoy role. The department has been in a state of total upheaval lately, especially following a botched immigration enforcement surge in Minnesota that resulted in the deaths of 2 American citizens. Mullen is expected to face intense questioning from the Homeland Security Committee regarding how he plans to handle mass deportations, and whether he can provide the steady leadership needed to end the current agency shutdown.
The stakes are incredibly high because over 100,000 employees are currently furloughed or working without pay. Senator Gary Peters has already signaled that he has reservations about Mullen's readiness for such a massive role during a crisis. Peters emphasized that the DHS secretary should not act like a cable news commentator, but should instead focus on internal oversight and personnel management. While Trump believes Mullen will be tireless in securing the border and stopping migrant crime, Democrats are worried that his approach will simply continue the same controversial policies that led to the recent turmoil and bipartisan criticism.
Moving on, Israel has emerged as a defining issue in Democratic primaries across the country, from Illinois to North Carolina. Recent polling shows a significant decline in support for Israel among younger voters and those who identify as progressive. For the first time in 25 years, Gallup reports that more Americans sympathize with Palestinians than with Israelis. This shift is creating a massive political flashpoint, especially as groups like AIPAC spend tens of millions of dollars to support pro-Israel candidates. In deep blue districts, this spending is being met with fierce opposition from activists who are critical of Israel's military actions and the ongoing occupation of Gaza.
The controversy surrounding AIPAC isn't new, as the group has clashed with various presidents over the decades, but the current intensity is unprecedented. While progressives push for a change in U.S. policy, there is also a worrying rise in anti-Semitic attacks globally, which adds another layer of complexity to the primary races. Candidates are finding it increasingly difficult to navigate these waters, as the base of the party moves further away from traditional pro-Israel stances. With the NBC News poll showing an almost even split in sympathies, the Democratic Party is facing a real internal struggle over how to balance historical alliances with evolving voter values.
Next story. The United Farm Workers Union has taken the drastic step of distancing itself from celebrations honoring its founder, Cesar Chavez. This decision follows unspecified but troubling allegations involving the abuse of young women or minors. While the union hasn't received direct reports or first-hand knowledge, the claims were deemed serious enough to cancel events in San Francisco, Texas, and Arizona. The Cesar Chavez Foundation requested these cancellations, stating they need time to establish a confidential way for potential victims to share their experiences. It is a shocking development for a man whose legacy is deeply woven into the fabric of American labor rights and immigration justice.
Cesar Chavez is a national icon, with his birthday recognized as a holiday in several states, and by a presidential proclamation in 2014. He is famous for his hunger strikes and the great boycotts that eventually forced growers to improve working conditions for farm workers. The union statement mentioned that some of the reports involve family issues that aren't theirs to tell, but they are committed to a trauma-informed approach for anyone harmed. As schools and parks across the country bear his name, these allegations threaten to fundamentally change how the public views his life's work and the organization he helped build from the ground up.
Now to California Governor Gavin Newsom did not hold back in a farewell message to retiring Border Patrol official Greg Bovino. Newsom called Bovino the smallest man who ever lived, accusing him of ruining lives and spreading hatred during his tenure. Bovino has been a prominent figure in the Trump administration's deportation crackdown, specifically overseeing operations that led to mass protests in Los Angeles. His reputation was further tarnished after Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago and the tragic deaths of 2 American citizens in Minneapolis. Newsom's office even posted an illustration of the Statue of Liberty telling a crying Bovino that he is fired.
Despite the blistering criticism from California's leadership, Bovino remains defiant about his career. He told outlets that working with the Border Patrol since 1996 has been the greatest honor of his life. He was a key architect of the aggressive enforcement strategies that have defined the current administration's immigration policy. While he was removed from his commander-at-large post in January following the Minneapolis incident, his retirement marks the end of a very controversial chapter for the agency. The tension between state leaders like Newsom and federal immigration officials continues to be a major theme in the ongoing national debate over border security and human rights.
Next up, Senate Republicans have officially started debating the Save America Act, a sweeping plan backed by President Trump to nationalize elections. The bill aims to eliminate mail-in voting in most cases and require proof of citizenship for voter registration. Trump has framed this as a must-pass piece of legislation to prevent a Republican disaster in the upcoming midterms. However, the bill faces a very difficult path forward. Not only is there unified Democratic opposition, but several Republican senators, including Lisa Murkowski, are unwilling to scrap the filibuster to pass it. Murkowski argued that the bill would make it significantly harder for people in rural Alaska to vote.
Trump has reacted with fury to the internal resistance, calling anyone who votes against the act demented or deranged. He even threatened that a vote against the bill would lead to a guaranteed loss in future campaigns. Senate Majority Leader John Thune tried to downplay the internal friction, stating he prefers to focus the fight on Democrats rather than his own members. Meanwhile, voting rights groups warn that the bill could disenfranchise millions, particularly married women, whose names have changed. Chuck Schumer has labeled it a voter suppression bill, vowing that Democrats will stand firm against what they see as an attempt to rig the electoral system.
Moving to The political discourse took a crude turn this week when former Representative Adam Kinzinger responded to Senator Lindsey Graham with a foul-mouthed insult. Graham had posted on social media complaining about European allies being unwilling to help secure the Strait of Hormuz during the Iran war. Kinzinger fired back, telling Graham to eat a sack of ripe anuses and reminding him that Trump spent the start of the war saying the U.S. didn't need anyone's help. This exchange highlights the deep divisions even among conservatives regarding the war. Graham remains one of the most hawkish voices, claiming that the $1 billion a day spent is the best money ever.
Graham's enthusiastic support for the conflict has drawn fire from other prominent figures, like Megyn Kelly and Meghan McCain. Kelly recently called Graham a homicidal maniac and criticized the media for parading him around as a surrogate. Meghan McCain even implored the Trump administration to stop using Graham as a spokesperson, saying he is actively scaring the American public. Despite the pushback, Graham continues to lobby for more military pressure, warning that the repercussions of a nuclear Iran would be devastating for both Europe and America. The rhetoric is getting increasingly heated as the costs and risks of the war continue to climb daily.
Next story: advocates are sounding the alarm over a potential family separation crisis as the Supreme Court prepares to hear a case on temporary protected status. If TPS is ended for Haitian and Syrian nationals, roughly 350,000 Haitians could lose their legal status. Tessa Petit of the Florida Immigrant Coalition warned that parents might be forced to leave their U.S.-born children behind rather than take them back to a country plagued by gang violence. Haiti is currently in a state of collapse, with gangs controlling major neighborhoods and sexual violence becoming rampant. For many of these families, the United States is the only home they have ever known.
There are an estimated 50,000 U.S. citizen children with at least one Haitian parent on TPS. These children have grown up in American schools and are fully integrated into their communities. Human rights experts point out that the Haitian state has almost no services to offer survivors of violence, making deportation a potential death sentence for many. The legal battle over TPS has been ongoing since the Trump administration first tried to end it years ago. Now, with the Supreme Court involved, the futures of hundreds of thousands of people hang in the balance, creating a sense of dread among immigrant communities across the country.
And finally, Vice President J.D. Vance had a tense exchange with a reporter who questioned his current support for the Iran war. When reminded of his past statements where he called an Iran war a huge distraction and massively expensive, Vance accused the journalist of trying to drive a wedge between him and the president. He argued that the big difference now is that the country has a smart president in Donald Trump. Vance, a Marine veteran, previously stated that an attack on the Iranian mainland would be a significant mistake and that the U.S. should focus on de-escalation. Now he insists that everyone should pray for the success of the troops.
Vance's shift in tone is part of a broader effort by the administration to justify the joint military strikes with Israel. Just days before the election, Vance was still expressing deep skepticism about the costs of such a conflict. However, he now maintains that he has always agreed that Iran should never have a nuclear weapon. This pivot highlights the pressure on administration officials to present a united front as the war intensifies. While Vance once warned that this conflict would be a mistake, he now places his full trust in Trump's leadership to get the job done and avoid the errors made by previous administrations.
That wraps up our briefing for today. Thank you for joining us for this daily roundup of the most important stories. Be sure to follow us for tomorrow's update on these developing events.